Greetings! Welcome to the second grade fractions best practices video. In this video, we will share what one can expect to see and hear as they visit mathematics classrooms. Here's a little fraction humor for you. Keep in mind, numerators and denominators aren't mentioned until third grade. This unit of study will encompass the following key learning goals: partitioning shapes into halves, thirds, and fourths in a variety of ways, and describing each part with words. Students will not be writing in fraction notation until third grade. Explaining that the more fractional parts an object is broken into, the smaller each part will be. Counting fractional parts in the whole. Making a connection between lines of symmetry and partitioning. These goals can also be found on the STEMscopes parent letter. What should we see happening in the classroom to help students achieve these goals? Here we see pictures of students modeling partitioning equal parts into halves, thirds, and fourths. Some strategies include folding paper in different ways, partitioning drawings of circles and rectangles, and utilizing lines of symmetry to partition into equal parts. Students move through the CRA model as they utilize concrete, representation, and abstract depictions to create halves, thirds, and fourths. Students also make the connection that 2 halves equals 1 whole, and so on. Teachers can facilitate a discussion to make connections between representations by asking students to share multiple strategies. As you can see, there is an MTR poster on the slide. So what MTRs align with this scope? MTR 2. Students partition shapes to create equivalent fractions. MTR 4. Students will name the parts of a whole using appropriate language. And MTR 5. Students recognize that each time a shape is decomposed into more equal-sized parts, the parts become smaller in size. Students should be invited to have math chats to discuss their learning. The types of questions teachers choose will help dictate the direction of the student conversations. These example questions can be found in the Math Chat section of STEMscopes, as well as the Fundamental Questions section. What are examples and non-examples of fractions? Does a shape have to be partitioned in the exact same way to make the parts equal? What do you notice about fourths? What was a surprise or new learning that you want to share about examples and non-examples of fractions based on our activities and exploration today? As students explore fractions, we should hear students and teachers utilizing correct mathematical vocabulary. Here's a list of some vocabulary we would expect to hear in this unit. These words can be found on the STEMscopes parent letter as well. Partition, fractional parts, equal-sized parts, whole, half and halves, thirds, fourths, and lines of symmetry. Throughout this unit of study, we should see multiple opportunities for students to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding. This could include student journals, exit tickets during the Explore, as well as standards-based assessment tasks, the Fluency Builder and games to practice. These could provide teachers with an informal assessment. These activities can demonstrate the MTRs discussed previously as well. As we visit classrooms, we can ask students questions to gauge their understanding of the current content. Here we see some questions we can ask students. Additional questions can be found on mathsmarts.com, which can be found by clicking on the benchmark link on the year at a glance. Some examples include, how can I partition this shape to show halves, thirds, fourths in multiple ways? What do I notice about the size of the parts of a whole partitioned into halves, thirds, or fourths? And how many lines of symmetry do I see on this image of a two-dimensional figure? We want students to continue learning at home. Here, students can play some games on the tic-tac-toe board. This board can be found on the parent letter. For example, chocolate bar fractions. Ask questions as you are splitting the food into equal-sized parts. Why is this important? There are too many concepts to list that are associated with fractions, now as well as in future learning. Through facilitative discussion, teachers can make these connections for students. Well, that's all for now. See you in the next video.